Hey there, it's EnderVerse. We have a special guest in today's episode. Everyone, say hello to creatures.
Hello there. Thanks for having me, EnderVerse. I'm quite keen to be sharing and discussing some VanillaPLUS texture packs with you today, as they're great ways to upgrade your game's visuals. No doubt, in your early days of playing Minecraft, the hostile mobs seemed quite intimidating to confront. If you're seeking to rekindle that feeling again, Fearsome Foes is the pack to try out. It achieves this by carefully retexturing and remodeling many of the hostile mobs, taking into account their vanilla appearance to produce a look that's hopefully more menacing. Are there any notable mobs in this pack, EnderVerse, that you find recapture that feeling?
Certainly, I found the husk to be a primary example of that. It featured a terrifying mummy-like appearance along with red eyes. Mobs like the Vindicator, however, were pretty similar to their vanilla counterpart. Same could be said about the Bugged, having only a few general improvements on the outlook, with 3D models and slight retexturing of some of the parts. That's one simple pack. It only changes the position of the items to produce a dynamic look for the tools when held. And creatures, what type of players do you think it would fetch?
If you wanted a way to actually feel like the items you equipped were really in your hands, perhaps a slightly more immersive first-person experience, then I think this pack may be worth checking out. Just make sure to replace the pack's player file with your own, lest you run around with Steve hands. When thinking of high-resolution vanilla textures, Faithful is usually the go-to choice, and for good reason. But VanillaXBR is another option to consider for high-quality vanilla textures. Using the XBR scaling method, the pack aims to upscale all the game's texture resolutions to 64 pixels, resulting in a smoother but detailed suite of textures. But that's just from my observations. Let's hear from EnderVerse. What are your impressions on this pack? Do you find the upscaled textures fit into the game well?
Personally, I don't prefer high-resolution VanillaPLUS textures as means of survival gameplay. I'm the kind of guy to either blow my PC with something like Stratagem or settle with the vanilla textures. But from a different scope though, I see this pack being used by players who enjoy a graphics that intensifies vanilla textures. And hey, there is a reason Faithful is the most famous pack of all time. This side does actually work.
Buko's enchantment tips strives to improve the enchantment tooltips with a system that's bolder, modern, and distinct. From displaying a new icon to color coding enchantments into groups, the results are quite apparent. Would you find this pack useful for improving your enchantment tooltips, EnderVerse?
Well, it didn't help me much. Not because it's bad, but because I already know all of the enchantments there is. However, for beginners, this can actually be an essential pack to have around. And a small tip for the author to make the pack useful even for advanced players, try and make the pack compatible with other mods too. Aiming for popular options would be a good start.
Nautilus 3D is a pack that gives many of the game's blocks and items 3D models. Covering an extensive suite of the game's decorative blocks, rails, and flora, the pack ensures that each block is highly intricate in its appearance, whilst remaining performance-friendly. But that's just some of the blocks affected by Nautilus 3D. What else have you noticed, EnderVerse, about this pack?
Thank you for the brief review, creatures. In my own experience, I've come to adore the fact that the author here didn't just make vanilla texture 3D, they instead aimed to remodel the blocks quite entirely. I'm not sharing on such textures, we certainly have one mentioned in this very list. I'm only applying my own preference here. I appreciate creativity whenever I spot it, and I'm pretty sure that there are people who would check the pack closest to vanilla instead. We've included this pack on the list because, different from other player animation packs, Better Animations features minimalist movement for the limbs, nothing so fluid or so realistic. But creatures, what do you think about it?
Better Animations' animated style feels similar to that of the Minecraft trailers, but still different enough to not be a one-to-one replica. Save for the head bobbing and the falling animation in creative mode personally, the majority of the other animations is a nice way to bring some extra character to the player's animations in a VanillaPLUS pack.
Torturable Healthbars is a resource pack that makes the mobs gradually bleed out and get visibly messed up as you damage them. So creatures, do you think this texture pack fits the list well? Or is it a bit too much for VanillaPLUS, given the blood and the alternation of models?
Good question, EnderVerse. It's a hard one to determine. In some cases, the mob's visual health bars work well on some mobs, but in other cases feel a bit too out of place. Whether that's due to the blood or the other physical impacts, it's hard to pinpoint. Personally, it's not something I would add for a VanillaPLUS pack, but everyone has different tastes on what's VanillaPLUS. So if you're someone wanting to see some visual damage from your attacks in the game, then you may enjoy this. Fresh Particles updates some of the older, recurring particles with newer, distinct textures. With recent updates introducing new types of particles, do you think these complement the vanilla style well, EnderVerse?
Certainly they do. As a matter of fact, if you would install the pack on my PC without me knowing, I'd probably go a long time before noticing these effects, though the build's effects are not the same on this regard. We have a classic on the list, simply named Classic 3D. This is a jigsaw pack I've tried before I had even created this channel. Recently though, the pack was updated to 1.21, along with covering newly added blocks. And hey man, you should research the pack is worth installing, given that it may impact performance, and it also doesn't cover every block, resulting in a bit of an incoherent look.
Resource packs, 3D ones in particular, will be bound to have some form of impact on performance, but of course, the effects will vary. Additionally, since not every block is affected, it'll be hard to assess if it has any noticeable impacts on your game. Even though not every texture has been covered by the pack, if seeing 3D classic textures is something of interest, then by all means, play around and see how it goes.
Skeleton physics will add a bone shatter effect when you kill a skeleton. This effect extends to all skeleton mobs. Here, creatures will introduce the other mobs that are also covered with this pack.
Besides the skeleton horses, strays, and wither skeletons are all affected by this resource pack. All in all, skeleton physics is a cool way to bring some unique death effects to skeletal mobs. Shrimp's immersive interfaces aims to completely rework the game's user interfaces to make the player feel truly immersed into the world of Minecraft. From first glance, they appear quite reminiscent to indie and old school video games of the past. Detailed, unique, and brimming with personality. EnderVerse has got some more coverage on these stylish GUIs. What do you think of these?
Everyone, I didn't do my homework very well in here. I installed the pack on 1.20.1, which caused some of the glitches you're all seeing right now. But, from my honest point of view, I think the pack has done a terrific job at redesigning the GUIs. It's just that I've always dreamt of a jigsaw pack which does a similar job, only alters the tools, weapons and items to suit the GUIs along the way. Maybe bend them forward, retexture them, or do something to them that unify the overall interface. But I feel that this may be so much to ask for, though worth considering. Foliage Plus is a resource pack that will enhance the vegetation in the game, making certain plants bushier and redefine others. This is a pack that could increase immersion in the game. Don't you think so, creators?
Certainly, EnderVerse. Because how extensive the pack's changes are, it serves well as an all-in-one pack for making the vegetation more natural and varied. Optionally, it serves well as a baseline resource pack for improving your game's vegetation. The recent Bat and Vex revamps are a start in alleviating Minecraft's dilemma of inconsistent pixel sizes, also known as mixels. One pack to speed this process up, however, Pixel Consistency, can be an option to check out for having unified pixel sizes across all the game's textures. The pack's consistencies are primarily directed towards the entities in Minecraft, be it baby mobs, spawners, and banners. EnderVerse has more to show what this pack has to offer, but on the subject of pixel consistency, is this something you strive to achieve in the VanillaPLUS pack? Or do you find the mixels offer some extra character to a game's art style?
Personally, I've never complained about the vanilla baby variants. Their giant heads, relative to their small bodies, made them unique, and in a way, cute too. But for some baby mobs in this pack, like the bat, strider, and chickens, I think they do look coherent and pretty. There's also a slight, almost unnoticeable change, which is the armor's shoulder improvement. Look closer and you'll notice that the shoulders will be fully covered now, which is a nice detail.
3D Medieval Ironbars simply transforms the iron bars into a solid 3D block with a slight color adjustment. Quite a simple way to make iron bars solid, but it does many improvements when building with them. Don't you think, EnderVerse?
I'm one to despise the thin design of the Mojang iron bars, and that's my admiration for this pack. I enjoyed the rich appearance iron bars have now, along with how well they merge with the rest of the blocks. And I do think their thick models made them ever more suitable for fencing designs, though that's just my opinion. Enhanced Audio is a sound pack that will improve the sound of some of the rudimentary things about Minecraft, making the sound system in the game a bit superior. There is also an ambient sound pack from the same author. Isn't that true, creatures?
Indeed, EnderVerse. Enhanced Audio Ambience is a sound pack that plays some background sounds in relation to the environment. They're quite subtle, but like in reality, ambient sounds are usually blended into the environments you're surrounded in, creating more natural soundscapes in the world of Minecraft. ToolTips Stylized is a resource pack that implements new additions into Minecraft's tooltips, resulting in stylistic and useful tooltips. Many item tooltips are assigned their own icons, badges, and colors, signifying the type of item it is and its purpose. Other items like light-emitting blocks feature another icon to provide even more info about the block, no doubt proving valuable when working with them. How helpful would you find these tooltips in your playthrough, EnderVerse?
As in the case for Buko's Enchantements tooltips, the pack didn't help me very much due to my prior knowledge of the game. However, things like redstone signaling power was quite insightful, and I do believe that this pack too can benefit plenty from a modded support. Smoube is a juxta pack that will simplify the game's visuals, reducing the resolution down to 8x8. Also, don't fall for the horse crap of FPS boosting textures. This pack is solely made for its visual appeal. Texture packs have zero power over your performance, so install this pack if you love how it looks. What about you, man? What do you think about this texture pack? And while at it, share your thoughts on the FPS boosting textures phenomenon.
Smoube's cartoon visual style is quirky, cute, all the while adhering to the general vanilla aesthetic, making it a possible candidate for experiencing a VanillaPLUS pack that's a bit more bubbly. You would think that because higher resolution resource packs decrease your FPS, that lower resolution resource packs would do the inverse, but I don't think that's the case. When you use a lower resolution resource pack, the game is still loading 16 pixels on that texture. It's just that a lower texture resolution itself would just take up more space on that 16 pixel area. At least that's from my understanding. If there's something we're missing about this, let's hear from you in the comments. Farm3D turns various crops into detailed, exquisite 3D models, affecting the root vegetables, fungi, and certain flower types. Each remodeled plant and crop have a layer of depth, character, and radiating a feeling of comfort about them. At least that's my impression when gazing at these 3D crops. How about you, EnderVerse?
There is something about 3D textures. When done correctly, they can make the game feel quite sophisticated and gratifying. Farms 3D is a primary example of this, and the fact that it only alters one part of the game makes it ever more worthy of your installation, though it is advisable to disable the waving crops on your shader settings. Vocal villagers will improve upon the sounds of the villagers in Minecraft. They will have different sounds for different moods and events too, much like that AI voice trend that has been going on a while back. This pack may work incredibly well if you are trying to simulate a highly immersive mudpack, but this is just my opinion. Let's hear creatures.
Vocal villagers proves a great option to expanding the range of sounds for villagers. They're different enough to pick up, but manage to follow the same sound patterns the villagers use. What's more, this pack plays unique villager sounds after successfully repelling an illager raid, helping to emphasize the noble deeds the player does. O's Bookshelves breaks up the monotony of the bookshelf block by integrating several texture variations. The bookshelves now display an assortment of books, both big and small, along different orientations. But there's also more changes to these bookshelf variations, right, EnderVerse?
Certainly there are. When zooming in, we could also glance at flower pots and overgrown vegetation on the bookshelves, giving them a touch of mystery along with indicating an ancient library. I personally am a fan of small textures that can be used with other packs to create a superior outlook, much like mud packs, only on the visuals alone. In many of my videos, I've used the biome particle weather to enhance the visuals of my weather in the game. Unobtrusive Weather achieves a similar effect, only in the form of a convenient texture pack. This pack will reduce the intensity of the rain, making it less suffocating. Same applies to the snowflakes when it's snowing. There are also other features and compatibilities that creatures will explain to us now.
Fortunately, Unobtrusive Weather is compatible with many shader packs. What's more, Certain shaders may even lower the weather particles' intensity even further. Some, albeit, make the particles nearly invisible. Overall, pairing the two together results in some atmospheric, unobtrusive rain and snowstorm events. 3D banner patterns gives each of the banner patterns its own 3D model in game. A tiny change that yields immediate results on deciphering each pattern on a nice 3D model. What's your thoughts, EnderVerse?
Firstly, I just love how you made a bunch of posts out of it. Secondly, I think the pack can be used with something like invisible item frames to create signposts, maybe to indicate the nature of a certain area or purely for its aesthetic appeal. Refurbished Log Boat is a texture pack only working with Optifine. The premise of the pack is to redesign boats to have a natural and wise outlook, indicating a primitive era. I did not make cinematics with the pack since I couldn't get any of the mods to work with Optifine, but to my surprise, Creatures managed to produce incredible shots for us. Go ahead man, tell us your thoughts about the pack.
As you mentioned, EnderVerse, the pack works wonders if you're seeking a playthrough that makes you feel as if you're living off the land, using whatever resources nature provides to survive and thrive in Minecraft. These even replace the original boat item textures with a 3D model, giving it some semblance of the player holding a literal boat in the hand. Illogically looping lanterns simply allows both lantern blocks to be placed on random rotations. EnderVerse, you've also covered a pack by the same author that's achieved this for flower pots. What effects do you find this small change makes?
Good that you remember it. My fascination with small and spontaneous textures is no secret. This pack was another project to feed on this desire even more. Although the change is small, it will be day and night for vanilla, especially if you have a lot of lanterns hanging around. Just look closer and you'll notice some life in the lanterns themselves. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for Creatures for making the video with us.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me on board with this exciting collaboration, EnderVerse.
Alright, why don't we just run around and I'll tell you the final outro, okay?
Yep.
Alright guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see ya in the next one.